You're lying in bed, the room is quiet, your breathing slows, your thoughts begin to drift. Not into anything specific, just away. You feel yourself getting lighter, softer, closer to gone, and then you fall. Not really. You're still in bed, but your whole body just jerked hard, like something inside you panicked. Your leg kicked, your arm flinched. For half a second, your stomach dropped like the floor disappeared. You open your eyes. The ceiling is still there. The blanket is still there. Nothing happened. Except something did happen. Something ancient. Something that has been happening to humans every single night for the last 7 million years. And here's what nobody tells you. That jerk wasn't a glitch. It wasn't your nerves misfiring. It wasn't stress or caffeine or just one of those things. That was a part of you. A part that has never seen a bed, never seen a pillow, never seen a roof. Checking that you hadn't just fallen out of a tree, and it does this every single night, right before you fall asleep, without asking your permission. Tonight, I'm gonna show you what your body actually does in the 30 seconds before sleep takes you. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why falling asleep is the most dangerous thing your brain does all day, and why a version of you that died 40,000 years ago is still the one tucking you in. Let's start with what we think sleep is. Most people imagine sleep as a switch. You're awake, you close your eyes, you're asleep, like a light going off. But sleep isn't a switch. Sleep is a negotiation. Your brain doesn't just shut down, it surrenders, slowly, reluctantly, in layers. And during those final 30 seconds, the window scientists call the hypnagogic state, your brain is doing something so strange that for most of the 20th century, we had no idea it was even happening. In 2023, researchers at the Paris Brain Institute strapped EEG sensors onto hundreds of people and watched the exact moment they fell asleep. What they found was unsettling. In those final seconds, your brain isn't winding down, it's fragmenting. Different regions begin to fall asleep at different speeds. Your visual cortex might already be dreaming while your motor cortex is still wide awake. Your sense of self, the part of you that knows your name and where you are, starts to dissolve before your hearing does. For about 30 seconds, you are not one person. You are several, some of them awake, some of them already gone. And during this window, something else happens. Something we only recently understood. Your brainstem, the oldest part of you, the part you share with reptiles and fish, begins to release two chemicals, GABA and glycine. These aren't sleep chemicals, they're paralytics. They flood your spinal cord and switch off your motor neurons, one muscle group at a time. By the time you're fully asleep, you cannot move at all. Your body is, biologically speaking, paralyzed. This is called rematonia, and it exists for a reason. If your brain didn't paralyze you every night, you would physically act out your dreams. You would run into walls. You would hit the person next to you. You would occasionally walk out a window. So every night your brainstem locks the door from the inside. But here's the problem. Your brainstem evolved this paralysis system about 300 million years ago. Your tree climbing ancestors evolved about 60 million years ago, and those two systems, the paralysis and the climbing, were never designed to coexist, because if you fall asleep in a tree and your body goes limp, you die. In 2014, a team of evolutionary biologists published a paper with a strange title, The Effects of the Tree-to-Ground Sleep Transition in the Evolution of Cognition in Early Homo. It asked a question almost nobody had thought to ask. How did our ancestors sleep in trees for 60 million years without falling out? Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, still do this. Every single night, a chimp climbs 30 to 50 feet into the canopy, builds a nest of bent branches, and sleeps. They don't fall. They almost never fall. But chimps experience rematonia just like we do. Their muscles go limp just like ours. So what's stopping them from dropping out of the canopy in the middle of the night? The answer is the hypnic jerk, that falling sensation you feel right before you sleep. The one that yanks you back to consciousness is not a malfunction. It is a test. Right before your brainstem commits to full paralysis, it sends a signal down through your motor system system, a kind of final systems check. It contracts your muscles suddenly and without warning and waits to see what happens. If you're lying on a flat surface, a bed, a cave floor, the ground, nothing happens. The jerk passes. Your brain registers safety. Paralysis proceeds. You sleep, but if you're in a tree and your grip has loosened, that contraction doesn't pass. It tips you. The falling sensation becomes a real fall, and the jolt of adrenaline yanks you awake before you fully committed to being asleep. The hypnic jerk is your brain checking that it can afford to let go every single night. You haven't slept in a tree in conservatively 2 million years. Your great-great-great-grandparents didn't sleep in trees, but the part of you that runs the bedtime check, the part of you that has been doing this job since before language, before fire, before humans, it doesn't know that. It still thinks you're up there. And here's where the story gets darker, because that ancient system isn't just running a falling test, it's running a vulnerability test. And there are nights when it doesn't pass. In January of 1959, a New York DJ named Peter Tripp climbed into a glass booth in Times Square. He was 32 years old, he was a celebrity, and he had decided to stay awake on display in front of the public for 200 hours straight as a charity stunt. For the first 3 days, Tripp was fine. Tired, but fine. By day 4, he started seeing things. Cobwebs in his shoes, mice running across the floor, a tweed suit that he became convinced was made of furry worms. By day 5, he didn't know who he was. By day 7, he was certain that the doctors monitoring him were undertakers, and that he had already died, and that they were preparing his body. When he finally slept, after 201 hours awake, he slept for 13 hours. And when he woke up, his wife said the man who came back was not the same man who went into the booth. He lost his job. He lost his marriage. He drifted between cities, between identities. He was never quite Peter Tripp again. For decades, scientists thought Peter Tripp had simply gone insane from exhaustion. But that's not what happened. What happened to Peter Tripp is that his brain ran out of patience. Sleep is so essential, so non-negotiable, that when you refuse it for long enough, your brain stops asking. It begins to force little pieces of sleep into your waking life. Microseconds at first, then seconds, then full dream sequences played in 3D over the top of the real world. By day 7, Peter Tripp was dreaming with his eyes open. The hypnagogic state, that 30-second window between waking and sleep, had broken out of its cage. It had stopped being a doorway. It had become the entire room. And this is the part that should disturb you. Every night you walk through that doorway, you spend 30 seconds inside that exact same state Peter Tripp was trapped in for a week. You hallucinate. You dissolve. You lose your name. You see things that aren't there. You just don't remember it, because the brain mercifully doesn't record those 30 seconds. You have lived through approximately 350,000 of these episodes. You will not remember a single one. Now think about your own life for a moment. Think about the last time you were lying in bed, almost asleep, and your phone buzzed, and how violently your body reacted, heart pounding, fully awake, like you'd been shocked. That wasn't annoyance. That was a survival system designed for predators interpreting your phone as a threat in the canopy. Think about why you can't sleep in a new place on the first night. Sleep researchers call this the first night effect. Half of your brain, that literally one hemisphere, stays more alert than the other. This was first measured at Brown University in 2016. They called it the night watchman. Your ancestors slept in groups. Someone always had to keep one eye open. Your brain still volunteers for that shift, the first night in any unfamiliar place, because to the part of you that runs sleep, every hotel room is a strange forest, and every Airbnb is a cave you've never scouted. Think about why you suddenly feel afraid of nothing at 2 a.m. Why a creak in the hallway, which would be invisible at noon, becomes the loudest sound in the world. Your hearing doesn't actually get sharper at night. Your threat threshold drops, because 2 million years ago, the things that wanted to eat you hunted in the dark, and the system that decides what's worth waking waking up for has not received the memo that you live in an apartment. Think about why you jerk awake right as you're falling asleep on a plane, or on a couch, or in a chair, but almost never in your bed. It's not the noise, it's not the light, it's the angle. Your body is reading not horizontal as not safe. It is, with no input from you, calculating whether you are in a tree. And every time you've ever felt that falling sensation in a chair, every time you've snapped awake during a meeting or in the back of a car, but that wasn't embarrassment. That was a 60-million-year-old reflex deciding you weren't allowed to die today. Here's the strangest part. We spend a third of our lives asleep. 1/3, and the human brain, the most complex object in the known universe, has decided that this is an acceptable use of its time, despite the fact that for most of evolutionary history, sleep was the single most dangerous thing an animal could do. You can't fight while you're asleep. You can't run. You can't see. You can't even stand up. If sleep wasn't doing something absolutely critical for your survival, evolution would have erased it 100 million years ago. It didn't, because what your brain does during sleep is more important than what your body does during the day. It clears toxic proteins from your neurons. It consolidates memory. It rehearses possibilities. It stitches together the version of you that wakes up in the morning. And it can only do all of that if the falling test passes. If your brain isn't sure you're safe, it won't let go. It will keep you skimming the surface of sleep, jerking you back every time you get close, until morning comes and you wake up exhausted and you don't know why. Insomnia, in many cases, is not a disorder. It is a refusal. It is a 60-million-year-old guard at the gate of consciousness, and it does not believe you are safe enough to release. There is a thought I want to leave you with. Tonight when you lie down, and you will eventually lie down, there will be a moment somewhere in the next 30 seconds before you sleep when a part of you that has no name will run its check. It will tense your muscles. It will scan for movement. It will measure the angle of your body against the pull of gravity. It will listen briefly for a sound that hasn't existed in your life for 2 million years. And then, if everything is quiet, it will let you go. This part of you has never seen your bedroom. It doesn't know what a mattress is. It has no concept of doors, locks, alarms, or the building you live in. It is running on instructions written before the invention of the wheel, before the invention of speech. It does not know your name, but every night, without being asked, without being thanked, it makes sure you can fall safely. And every morning, the version of you that wakes up, the one with plans and worries and a phone full of messages, gets to exist because that ancient version did its job. You are alive right now because something inside you that has never met you refuses to let you die in your sleep. The mice in the famous experiments didn't have a choice. The chimpanzees in the canopy don't have a choice. You don't really have one either. You can't turn this system off. You can't override it. You can't thank it. But you can know it's there. Tonight, when you feel that jerk, that falling sensation that pulls you back from the edge of sleep, don't curse it. Don't try to push past it. Recognize it, because that is the oldest part of you, doing the oldest job in the world, making sure that the tree is still holding, making sure that you haven't fallen, making sure, one more time, that it's safe to let go, and then gently, the way it has done for every human who has ever lived, it lets go for you. Good night.